thanks for those that have logged in. We're excited to have you, and I know Jacobs is really excited to talk to you. So Jacobs raised their hand pretty quickly when we threw out this opportunity to connect via virtual. So we went through some test runs and we think we're ready. We unfortunately don't have the videos of our beautiful Jacobs folks, but I promise they are awesome people, and I got to connect with them this morning. So they're going to go through a little bit of a presentation and talk a little bit about things that they have going on, hiring opportunities, things to look at, and things to think about. And then they'll definitely leave time at the end for Q&A. If you do have any comments or questions, you can put those in the chat function, and I will be monitoring those. If you would prefer to voice your question, you can do that. Just unmute yourself, and everyone will hear you. So I'm going to pass it on over to Travis, Jose, and the team to talk a little bit about what they have going on.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to appreciate taking time out your day. We're excited for this opportunity to tell you about a great company, Jacobs, and some things we're doing. And specifically, we're going to focus on Jacobs Big and then the Missile Defense Agency, the Integrated Research and Development for Enterprise Solutions, Irs Contract. So you're going to hear Irs quite a bit. And then if we refer to MDA, that's going to be the Missile Defense Agency. So before we get started, I just wanted to kind of, just like you said, thank y'all. And then we want to start off with the video, kind of a tone setter, just like this photo right here, slide you're looking at. It kind of, I don't know, gets my blood flowing and makes me want to join the team. So hopefully you'll get the same vibe on your end. But if we can get everyone to, I think there should be a link in the chat box. It's about a 2-minute video that's going to paint a picture of Big Jacobs and kind of how we think, process, and solve problems. And then we'll jump back into slides and kind of go over things, and then we'll process along. Does that make sense for everyone?
So if you open the chat function, you'll be able to see the link to that video. The reason why we're having you watch it on your own is because of buffering issues on WebEx. So we'll probably take a 2 to 3 minute pause here to just click that link and watch it.
It's worth the watch, so you'll like it. We'll do about 3 minutes.
When we start out in this world, the possibilities are
Back.
We'll give a couple more seconds and then we'll roll along. I think everybody should be finishing up. Okay, so I think everybody got a chance to watch that video. I hope it kind of put in perspective what Big Jacobs does. I think a couple key takeaways is that we look at challenges as opportunities. We believe everything is achievable. So that really kind of paints a picture of how we think. And we empower our employees to try new things, explore and discover. Because our ultimate goal is we look at challenging today, like this slide has, to identify brilliant solutions to reinvent tomorrow, to better our world and make a more connected, sustainable world. So one of our main things is we look at ways to transform the future, to not just make it better for Jacobs, but the whole world. So we focus on a global impact. So I hope that kind of put a perspective of what Jacobs' big picture does. Any questions? And real quick too, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in at any time. I mean, it's a smaller group, so let's make this kind of, if you want interactive, or if you have a question about a specific thing or such, just feel free to ask. We're here to answer. We'll go ahead and move to the next slide. So Jacobs, I don't know if any of you have heard of Jacobs, but we are a Fortune 500 company, 13 billion annual revenue, a little more than 52,000 employees worldwide. We donated 2.7 million through our global giving program, and we have about 1,400 mental health champions within our organization. So what that means is we're effective in our marketplace because we're doing well in that aspect. We value our employees, and we're investing in the community. So we believe it's a partnership in everything we do. And so that's one thing that I really love recruiting for Jacobs, is that, you know, we're not just based on our shareholders. Yeah, that's one aspect, but we look at we really value our employees and the social community. So like I said, if you haven't heard of Jacobs, we are a Fortune 500 company. So like I said, we are doing great and big things out there. We'll go to the next slide. So on this slide, real quick, it depicts the platforms we touch. So our thing is we tackle the world's toughest problems that affect us each and every day. What I always tell people, we solve the most important problems. And if you look at these: infrastructure, water, missile systems, cybersecurity, nuclear, all those are going to determine our future sustainment and success across not just the US, but the world. So what I would say, just to kind of put it in perspective, MDA protects against 150 million daily cyber threats. That's pretty significant that we mitigate that cyber threat daily, and that many. And when you're looking at water, we have a sustainable water initiative for tomorrow in Virginia, and we save 100 million gallons per day of drinkable water, and that's something you can't replace. And that's a shortage just across, you know, the U.S. So we're looking at numerous ways to always improve that, the water sources and water scarcity. As far as weapon systems, that directly falls in MDA. We conduct about 50 to 60 missile tests and training events per year to validate and improve our weapons missile capabilities. Sorry about that. And one significant event, about a year ago, 2019, Jacobs supported the first ever successful test involving 2 ground-based interceptors against the ICBM. So that was during the time when Korea was kind of showing trying to show their missile systems, and we sent a strong message to them that we do have this to protect our nation. And then to jump to transportation, just a quick one. We were the lead designer for the first true high-speed rail construction in the U.S. at about a top speed of about 220, and it runs along connects San Diego and San Fran. So as you can see, we've done a lot of great stuff. This is just a quick kind of paint a picture of kind of a few of these, that what we've done to tackle some of these difficult or problems that we want to assess and improve. And just to paint another quick picture, based on past success leads to new responsibilities, opportunities. So within the last 60 days, I just want to hit a couple of contracts we've been awarded to show that not only are we doing great things, but people are noticing and seeing it, and we're being awarded to do additional great things to solve these forefront problems. The one is on in April 6th, we were awarded the cybersecurity support contract for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So that was significant. You definitely don't want any cyber breaches going through there. So we've been put in the lead to make sure that doesn't take place. Late March, we were selected to operate and manage one of the country's largest wastewater operations. As I mentioned, water is definitely a focal point across everyone's areas. And in early March, we were awarded the high-speed rail contract in Sweden. So we're overseeing the plan, design, system, and implementation of that high-speed rail over there in Sweden. And then one that I really was interested, early March, we were awarded a contract to design the Korean Air Operations and Intelligence Center. So it's going to mirror what we have on Schriever Air Force Base, which we'll talk later. And that specific mission is they're going to oversee the air ops and ground weapon systems in the defense of the Korean Peninsula. That's significant. So we took the lead on that. Basically, what we're doing here in our missile system, we're going to kind of, our expertise, we can use that over there in Korea to make sure they can defense and have the capabilities to keep their country safe as far as the nation. So I hope this just kind of puts in a perspective of the great things we're tackling and continuing to knock out the park and do great things for us. Like I said, our main goal is to better the future and make a more connected and sustainable world. So any questions on that, or do you think that pretty much, if that clears it up, I'll move to the next slide. Team, do you have anything you want to add? Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Oh, good.
Oh. Sorry, did I cut somebody off?
Go ahead, Brandon.
I was just going to ask. So you were talking about the what was that acronym? The MDA handling cyber threats. Because usually when you think missile defense systems, you don't think cyber attacks. What is like the scope of how you tackle those? Are you also the cybersecurity branch with the MDA?
So within MDA, yeah, we have a cyber section. So we basically have two. We have our risk management, our CERT, which is our penetration and defense cyber. So yeah, within MDA, I mean, yes, we're going to do the modeling and simulation of the missile capabilities, but with internal, we have to have, support assets, cybersecurity, because of course, with this being a DoD top focused system, of course, all the adversaries are going to try to breach or get data and any information they can get. So yeah, cybersecurity is actually probably our biggest function of the well, not the biggest, but a very key contributor to our success in this contract. And I'll refer to Jose, he might know a little bit more, but yes, definitely cybersecurity is a big piece.
Yeah, so we are the CERT team, which is the response team, emergency response team. They have detect, protect, hunt down, forensics. So we get over 150 attacks a day. Now, some of those are credible, some of those are not. So a lot of it is maybe somebody opened a port that they shouldn't have, but some ones that do pose a threat, they go all the way to the top, which would be we track it down. And then if we have to partner with active forces, who is, the Air Force or boots on ground, whoever, to go recover an asset, a laptop, whatever, then they take it. But we are the first line of defense when somebody tries to open or get into our network. Because Travis is right. The big thing is if our missile defense goes down, then we're vulnerable. So first and foremost, you got to keep the network running. You got to keep it safe. And all the RMF, all the way up to forensics, the red team, blue team, white team, all those people work together to make sure that happens. And we do have all of those. So yes, we do handle the cybersecurity for the Missile Defense Agency.
Thank you.
Travis, this is Danny. You had a question on the chat, and I'll just read that out. So Matthew said, you guys are local to Colorado too, right? What does your local office focus on?
Yeah, so we're going to hit that in a couple of slides. Basically, the Irs contract is located and that's the one that directly supports the Missile Defense Agency. That is located on Schriever and Huntsville, and then we have a couple other locations, Fort Greeley, but the two main, I guess, hubs you could say is going to be Schriever and Huntsville. So, and we're going to capture, so just to kind of keep us in the same direction we're moving, right now we're going to capture Big Jacobs, and then we're going to move on to in a couple slides specifically to the Irs contract that directly supports MDA. So did that answer the question, I hope?
Yep, I think that's great.
Okay, and just to elaborate on this contract, probably 75% of it is IT related. So we're really IT heavy on this Irs contract, which we'll explain later. But I mean, like, so anything with IT, cybersecurity is paramount. So and Jacobs in Big is really getting more involved in the cyber arena. So we know that it's paramount to rectify or mitigate for our future success. So, but with that being said, I'll go ahead and jump to the next slide.
Travis, hold on
Yes,
one second. Let me jump in. So the question, it's two parts. We do have the Jacobs Irs contract, but also Jacobs is in Colorado, Denver, Inglewood, and Colorado Springs. And those are the commercial side. So we have two lines of business here. So if you're looking at the slide, the top three, the first one, Weapon Systems and Mission Solutions, that is strictly DoD branch critical mission services of Jacobs. If you're looking at the rest, you start to touch into what we call people and places, solutions, and those branch all over the place. So for us, we deal with top three primarily, Jacobs and Inglewood, and Jacobs here locally used to be CH2M Hill, but was purchased by Jacobs. They deal with the environmental, the transportation, and the advanced facilities. So they are working on Denver, or DIA, Denver International Airport, and they handle most of the construction that CH2M was doing on I-25. And of course, you got to take the environment into account whenever you do that. So Matthew, I think that was Matthew, right? Yes. There's two lines of business there, and we can talk about that later on. But yeah, just wanted to touch on the two sides of Jacobs that are local to Colorado. That's it.
Hopefully that answered the question. So yeah, we do have a pretty big portfolio, as you can see. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide. So this slide right here depicts that basically we're getting recognized for doing great things. We were just recently #1 on the Fortune magazine's most admired company in the world, and that's 2 years in a row we've been received that award. So that's pretty a great achievement. We're ranked on Forbes' best employer for diversity. So with us being a more of a solution technical organization, diversity is extremely big within our organization, because you need to have different viewpoints. You need to get away from that group thing. So we want everyone to bring different ideas, and so we can really, brainstorm and identify solutions that a lot of people ain't looking at because they're scared to take on. We believe on, thinking outside the box, you could say, to identify solutions that a lot of people ain't looking at. So, and then we actually, Engineering News, we received, actually, I just put about 5 up there, but we received 19 #1 rankings and a whole bunch of #2s and 3s. So across multiple, I mean, you can see aerospace, airports, government offices. I mean, we're getting rewarded for a lot of things we're doing across a lot of platforms. So, and that's just, and I could say that's basically built down to, we really empower our employees and value our employees, because that's our #1 asset. We don't build a missile, we don't build a jet. So we really provide that technical, critical solutions for any problem. So it's very rewarding to get receive these industry rankings. So other than that, we'll jump to the next slide unless my team want to elaborate on some of these areas.
No.
Go ahead, Travis.
So real quick, like I mentioned, we're a global company. So this map in the bold is going to kind of where our footprint's at. So we're in over 50 countries, 200 locations. So we're everywhere. I mean, if you look, we're in Asia, Europe, Australia. We're pretty much, of course, got a big footprint in the North America. But India, we got a really big footprint. Of course, Australia and a lot of Asia, and then Europe too. So UK, we have a big footprint there too. So we're definitely a global organization that's, I mean, everyone has, problems that we want to help find solutions for. So, and it's good to use people on the other locations to see what they're doing, to see what we can do, and vice versa. So that collaboration across continents is vital to our success. So, so there's opportunities. You want to go to Australia, we got you. You want to go to UK, we can find a job for you. And what the good thing about it, no matter what job you're going to do or contract, I guess you support, you're going to be making a difference. And that's what I believe is unique to Jacobs. So that being said, I'm going to jump to the next slide unless Jose or Brandon want to chime in.
No, you're right.
You got it, Travis.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Jose. This is our employee network group, and he's going to tackle this. And this is a great group program we have. So I'll hand it over to Jose.
Hey guys. So one thing about Jacobs, one of our values is we live inclusion, and it's not just a statement. I've heard it all my life, being in many companies, but Jacobs has created these employee network groups. So they are specific, but of course open to everybody. It's a way to get employees involved in the community and getting new ideas going and basically growing Jacobs from within. So we have the ACE, which is for people who are traditionally disabled or need assistance. The Careers Network is for people who want to move around in Jacobs, who want to see what the company is like. So they partner and get to know other people all over the world. As Travis showed you, over 50 locations. So that is one way that they can do it. Enlace, which is primarily for Hispanic or Latino members of Jacobs. I'm a part of that one. Harambe is primarily for African American employees. One World is for all diversity. So you can be part of more than one. It's just basically however you want to approach it, however you want to get involved is up to you. We have Prism, which is primarily LGBTQI. VetNet, which is for our veterans, current reserve members, and people who are transitioning out. And then we have a women's network. So the big focus with these groups is it's not just talk, because I was part of Enlace, and before I knew it, they were like, you guys are getting money. So Jacobs gave us all money and said, go make a difference, go to your school, go buy them stuff that they need, contribute. You don't have to make a big show of it. Just go out there and get them stuff for their STEM programs. I knew this one was for their STEM program. So went to the school, partnered with them, and it was, to me, it was eye-opening that they just gave us money. They were like, here's money, go contribute, go donate, go buy them stuff that they need. I had never been in a company that did that before. So it meant a lot to me. And then with the Careers Network, I got a call, and I was only with Jacobs for, I want to say 5 months when I got a call. I got a call from my vice president, and he says, hey, Jose, I like what you're doing. I'm going to put you in for this Careers Network thing. And I said, what is that, Zach? He said, just do it. I said, okay, I'll check it out. Why not? So I get involved with it, and they flew out 100 employees from all over the world, India, the UK, Australia, New Zealand. There were people there from all over the world, just 100 employees. And they flew us into Texas for 3 days, put us up at a hotel, and all of the leadership team was there. So Steve Demetrio, who is our CEO, president, our chief financial officer was there, and they were just basically there to get ideas from us. What do we need to do to make Jacobs better? Talk to us about it. You know, and they put together a competition for us to propose ways to make Jacobs better. And they incorporated one of the ideas and made it a project so that Jacobs now is working on that. But for me, being only there 5 months, that was amazing that they invested all that time and effort into me, got me out there and had me talking to, you know, Steve Demetrio, that guy, he flew in from Dubai to make this, and he was tired, and you can tell, but he was up there, he was talking, took the time to meet everybody. It just meant a lot to me. So while I am pitching this, these aren't just programs we put together and nobody ever pays attention to them, because the executive team, Steve, Bob, all of them are in some way associated with these groups. So they come back and say, hey, what are we doing? What are your ideas? How do we put them into play? Upside, downside, you know, whatever, talk to me about it. If it works, great, we can do something with it. So that really meant a lot to me. I'm done, Jake. I'm done. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Okay, so now we're going to jump into the Irs contract. That is the one that directly supports the Missile Defense Agency. So can you confirm, Brandon, you got that link in there? We want you to, it's about a minute video, but this should get your blood flowing. So if you guys can look in there, there's a link. It should say, what's it say? MDA, IRES link.
Nope. It says jacobsmissilidefense.com.
Okay, so go ahead, and if you guys will take about a minute and 20, if you can go ahead and watch that, that's going to paint a quick picture of the what we do with the Irs contract directly supporting the MDA, and then we'll jump back on.
Travis.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, that's a link to our website. So if you get there, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see the video.
Yeah, that is correct. Yep. It should be at the very, very bottom of the page.
Left-hand side.
We'll go ahead and give about a minute and a half, watch that video, and then Brandon will take over and jump into the Irs contract.
Give it a few more seconds and then we'll get started. Okay, well, everybody should be back by now. Is there anybody still viewing the videos? All right, if not, I'll press on. So my name is Brandon Archer, and I am also one of the recruiters with Jacobs, and I definitely enjoy what we do. So what I'm going to do is cover the Integrated Research Development for Enterprise Solutions part of the contract, better known as IRES. So we're going to give you a quick snapshot in what it means to be a part of the Irs contract. So first, I want to start by saying who's Jacobs, what we do here in Colorado Springs. So in a nutshell, we are the prime contractor for the Missile Defense Agency Research and Development for Enterprise Solution. So a simple way to simplify that is think of Northrop Grumman, think of Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. Those are defense contractors that everybody knows. So we're in the same realm with those guys. We're just the new kids on the block. So we're bringing new and innovative things to the area. But we focus more so on the missile defense side of the house. Provide integrated solutions to support testing, training, and operations of our nation's missile defense system. So in a nutshell, our mission is to defend our nation against ballistic missile attack. So of course, everybody knows that that's a pretty important mission. This is one of the reasons why I was so excited to work for Jacobs, because what we do has an immediate effect on our nation. So when we go home every day, we have the satisfaction of knowing that we are looking for the finest to help protect our country. Because of course, we know if our missile defense system goes down, we could be in big trouble. So this is done by our technology that supports systems that detect missile launches halfway around the world with extremely high accuracy. So we have top-notch technology to assist us in our endeavors. Our mission is accomplished in 3 primary locations, like we covered earlier: Colorado Springs, Huntsville, Alabama, and the Washington, D.C. area, the Fort Belvoir, Virginia location. Opportunities for you. Execution of our mission requires a wide skill set. We are always in need of individuals that are capable of stepping up to that challenge. So ask yourself, when you guys are getting to the point where it's time to make a decision on what you're going to do with your futures, how do you want to give back, or where your lives are going to go? Think about those things, whether it's Jacobs or working for any other place in the area or around the United States. Is it just going to be a job, or are you going to actually give back and make a difference? Any questions over that of what I spoke about so far? If not, I'll press on to the next slide. So this next slide is going to pretty much cover our contract, and I'll give you a brief overview of what our contract means. So we have the largest missile defense contract in the world. So our contract ceiling is $4.6 billion. So that's spanning over a 8-year period. So in a nutshell, what that means is Jacobs is here to stay. So we plan on sustaining that contract. The contract start date was 5 September 2017. Some of our high-level objectives are: we have system engineering and program integration, ballistic missile defense system missions operations, ballistic missile defense testing, war games and exercises, modeling and simulation, enterprise communications and IT environment, operation of facility infrastructure. Questions over that slide? Anybody?
Hey, Brandon, I just want to add one point. If you see that red, so we've already been awarded our first award term. So that's within about 2.5 years. We've already been awarded that first year award term. So they're only going to do that if you're meeting or exceeding the standards put in place. So that red stands right there that we're doing great things and we're excelling. So like Brandon said, we looked to have this contract for years and years. Prior to us, Northrop Grumman had it for 20 plus years. So we're hoping we can follow that same footprint and get it for 20 plus years. So I think that tells you right there that we're doing great with with the Irs contract.
Absolutely. So that one of the things I look for when I was transitioning from the Air Force is, how can I continue to make a difference? And as I was going about my search and looking at my options, I've really never heard of Jacobs before. You know, Jacobs. What's Jacobs? Is that a person? What exactly is Jacobs? But as I did my research, I discovered how wonderful a company Jacobs really is, and all the opportunities it may provide. And just speaking for myself, one of the huge reasons, the big reasons why I joined the Jacobs team or wanted to join the Jacobs team is because of what the overall company, you know, as far as giving back to the people, giving back to the nation overall. So other than that, if you guys don't have any questions, we can press on.
Quick question about those war games and exercises versus the modeling and simulation. How are those different? When I'm thinking war games, I'm thinking you are creating simulation of those war games. Is that more like a think tank and trying to predict certain attacks coming, or what encompasses that exact objective?
That's a great question. I'll take this one, Travis, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, so the modeling and the simulation, two different things, and the war games and the exercise, well, they're both different. Here's the difference. Modeling and simulation, Air Force comes to us, MDA, whomever comes to us and says, hey, we want to simulate 40 attacks, 40 inbound, and our response. So we put that together on the mod and the sim. How are we going to respond? What's our best chance? What are our closest assets? Put those together, and then we run the simulation. Put it together for them, package it, give it to them, and then from there, we go on to the war games and the exercises. The war games are just that. They're war games. So I don't know if you guys ever participated in a war game or seen one, but it's pretty much the simulation put into a actual game. So I've participated in this. They had us go through it just so we can know what we're talking about when we do them. And it works pretty much like a game. So, you know, you have simulated threats. They're not actual threats. So we're putting together, okay, we're going to coordinate this war game, and everybody participates who is part of the exercise. And they kick off, we have inbound threats, and then we just run through the response. Was it the right way? Did we run it right? Did we run it wrong? What was our success rate? How many got through? Because we don't want any to get through. How many got through? What was the fallout? And then we debrief. The exercises are done on site. So for me, this is the most exciting part of this job. And I love this position. And I'm trying to figure out a way that I can become an engineer so I can do it. But they're not going to let me. I already know it. Because they actually travel to these places wherever the MDA is. The engineers go out there, the team, and they run an exercise. And it's a lot of on the ground. We go to Spain, we go to Germany, we go to Japan, we go to South Korea, and then we're there with the troops. We run the exercise, collate the data, come back, and then report out on how did that work. An actual war game, an actual exercise where we're using live threats and live interceptors costs over $300 million. So we don't run those often. We do them maybe once a year, once every other year, but for the most part, it's all done with computers and just collating the data to make sure that it ran right. What's the probability of success? So it's a lot of travel for that one. Those positions are called mission engineers. Guys, write those down. If you see one of those, put in for it, because that to me is the best job ever on this contract. I'd love to go to Korea, Japan, Spain, and work. So to me, those are the best ones. I love talking about those. Did that answer your question? Or is
Definitely did. Thank you. Kind of a follow-up though, as a computer science major, what's the likelihood of getting some of those positions? Are those more like mechanical engineers, electrical engineers? What is being sought after for those specifics?
Yeah, that's a good question. Great question. Just experience with modeling and simulation data or programs, excuse me, and design work. because we know that you guys don't take a class on missiles. There is no class on missile defense. There is no class on BMDS. So we teach all of that. So what we do typically is we look for people coming right out of school for those, people who can travel, people who can get a clearance, people who have a passport. Not a big deal because people can get passports, so it's not required. But we look for somebody who knows design, modeling, sim, any of that stuff helps, and we'll teach the rest.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so we're good on that. We'll jump to the next slide, which is Jose will tackle benefits. We'll just capture this briefly.
Yeah, guys. So I'm just going to touch on this. My name is Jose Hernandez. I am lead of the recruiting team. So I've been there the longest. Most of these guys are pretty new, so I'll take care of this one right here. I'm going to touch on the educational reimbursement, the health benefits, the disability, and some of that other stuff. It's a lot of the traditional benefits that you would normally get with, most employers. In my opinion, Jacobs does go a little further, and you'll see that in the next slide as to what I'm talking about. But we offer the traditional education reimbursement, $5,000 a year reimbursement for anybody who wants to go to school and further their education. We are big proponents of that. The retirement benefits, traditional stuff, and we'll touch on that here in the next slide. Employee stock options, we'll touch on that in the next couple slides. Disability benefits, we offer traditional company paid benefits. So if somebody's hurt, we have the short-term and the long-term benefits. Life and accident insurance like AFLAC, you get paid while you're recovering. We offer that stuff too. The voluntary benefits are additional. If you want to purchase, employees have the option to purchase additional life insurance and additional protections. So that's up to them. Voluntary, of course, you guys don't have to do that. And I think we get into, we'll get into the paid time off and paid holidays. The parental leave, of course, that falls in line with FMLA, but also other dependent care, because it's not just parental leave. Right now, of course, it's a big thing with all the isolation that's going on. But we offer, on top of that, some additional benefits so that we can get into once you guys come on board. But it's a lot of traditional stuff. Travis?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I don't want to, I know we definitely have time for Q&A. So basically, if you look at here, we have PTO, paid time off. So mostly going to get about 17, equals to about 17 PTO days. So a little over 3 weeks, plus you factor in your 10 federal holidays, you're at 27 days. One area I want to focus on, though, is this comp time. So I don't know if, how many of you are familiar with comp time, but a lot of times when you're on salary, you don't get comp time. This is just specifically for this contract, not Jacobs wide, but anything you work over 40 hours in a week, you can put into a comp bank. So for instance, if you know you got a dental appointment next week, you could work 44 hours and you could take 4 hours next week without jumping into your PTO. So what I tell people is, like, I have a cruise coming up. Well, was going to have a cruise before this COVID changed my plans, but I would make sure I had 40 hours comp time. I'd work extra so I wouldn't have to dig into my PTO, and I could take that cruise and still get paid. So basically, your leave is almost unlimited and in your control based on leadership and all that stuff, determine your hours, and you got to work at that piece. But great perk because it really supports that work-life balance, which was at the top of my list when I was looking at companies. So honestly, you don't hit your PTO too much if you know how to, if you can utilize that comp time benefit. So a good perk to have. And then 401k, we match a little over 58% per each dollar up to 6%. The good thing about it is day one, you're immediate invested. So some companies don't do that. So day you come in and you start working, you're going to be invested in the 401k. Now with the ESPP, takes about, you're not eligible until 90 days, and they have open enrollment quarterly. So that you have to wait 90 days, and then depending on the timeline, when you can actually invest within Jacobs. And you can elect to have 2 to 15% of your pay. So if you ever go out there and look at, you can't never forget Jacobs stock ticker. It's just J. So if you want to go out there and you can look, with this COVID, it's of course not been as good as it has in the past, but it's been constantly green and going up. So, so I'll go ahead and jump to the next slide. So bottom line.
Oh, hold on, Tess. Real quick. Sorry to interrupt. Just real. So when you guys get to the point where you're seriously looking for and you may already be there, but you're seriously looking for a company to work for, don't just take into account the pay, because there's more to a company than the pay. Look at the culture, look at things like what we're going over now, the benefits, and put all that stuff together, because some people may value time off more than they value money. So just keep all that stuff in mind when it comes to that. So when you're doing your job comparisons.
That's a good point. And then so with this specific contract, Irs, probably 90% of our jobs, you got to have an active clearance. We do have some of our entry levels in certain positions we do the ability to obtain, but based on where we work at, we work in a controlled environment. It's called a SCIF. So basically everything in there has to be cleared. So it's very controlled, no cell phones, really restricted to the websites we can go to. You ain't going to Facebook, LinkedIn, ESPN.com. I've tried it. You can't do it. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, don't go to ESPN. I mean, it's really restricted. And that's just because of the environment we work in and our mission set. If you look at these positions, I would tell you almost all of them except 2 are probably going to fall in that IT arena. So as you see, we're really IT heavy. We do have a lot of PM, project management, EV, earned value, financial positions. We do have some business operations like buyers, contracts, proposals, and stuff in that arena. And we do have some logistics, facility logistics positions, but majority is that networking, software, system design, system engineer, architect. So more than that, but now Big Jacobs, we do the mechanical, the electrical engineer. We do have all those positions, but within Irs, very limited. And one key point I want to put out is if any of you are really looking to go work for the DoD or support the DoD, you really need to look at these 8570s, which are going to be eventually called 8140s. In the transition phase right now, I just think people still go with the 8570, but it's really 8140. If you look at these certifications, they're required to be a trusted agent, have a privileged account to work on the network. So most of these, a lot of people don't realize how important these certs are. You could have your bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, but if you don't have that Sec Plus or that CYSA, you can't get on our network. So I would definitely put those, I would definitely go out there and research and kind of determine. On this next slide, I'm going to kind of, as you see some of these certs, so on our contract, we require IET level 2. So if you had an A+, you couldn't get on our network. Not every DoD contract's like that. Some might require IET level 1, IM level 1. It just depends on the contract. And what I would say is if you're looking at cyber, jump down to that CSSP. Look at those. Those go straight across this analyst, the infrastructure, the incident. As you see, some of these go across multiple platforms. So I tell people, look at it. A lot of the hiring managers, like if you want to do more of that defense and penetration stuff, look at the CYSA. And the reason is it says it gives you that, it's kind of a combination of the CEH, the hacking, and the Security Plus platform. So it kind of gives you the two of the best, two good arenas, I guess. So, but if you look, if you're looking at cyber, CEH goes across all of them except the manager requirement. So a lot of bang for your buck. So definitely you can pull this up on just Google 8140, 8570. And like I said, if you're wanting to work for or support the government, you're going to have these certifications. And then the clearance piece too. in big picture, Jacobs, not every position, don't get stuck on that clearance piece. If you work up and support the people and places in Denver, you're not going to need a clearance. But in turn, if you work on the Irs contract, you're going to, even if you don't have one and we're willing to sponsor you and get you one, then you're going to get one eventually just because we work in a secure facility. Any questions on, I think we can go ahead and, so the bottom line, I'm going to sum it up and I'll let my team elaborate on it. But the main thing is this contract, specifically Irs, is going to allow you to, I always tell people to allow you to serve your country on a certain platform while it's not going into the military because you're still serving your country. So it's a great opportunity. You're making a difference day in and day out, no matter what your role function is within the contract. And so bottom line, if you want to do something great for your country and your career and make a difference, you definitely need to check out these 2 bullet links. Oh, my fault. The bottom one is Big Jacobs. The Irs one is going to be specifically for the Irs contract. And if we had time, I could jump in there real quick, but I want to see if anyone, I'll let my team elaborate. And if you want to hit us up with some questions, you can ask anything from resume, interview, hiring processes, any questions specifically related to Jacob, we'll definitely answer them. And one thing that I definitely can set us apart is COVID-19 hasn't changed one thing that the Irs contract is doing because the enemy don't stop. So we actually hired 30 plus people in the first 2 weeks of last month. So, I mean, daily, it seems like we're getting more food put on our plate, extra projects, requirements. So, like I tell people, this mission is not going to go nowhere. It's definitely on the forefront of the government, and it hasn't in COVID-19. Besides just working remote, the mission set and the focus hasn't changed. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to my team, and if we definitely want some questions because pick our brain. I think some of us definitely have some intel we can pass your way.
Just real quick, Travis. I just want to just throw a couple of things in there real quick. You don't necessarily have to have a degree in those certain fields, especially if you're looking at the ones for the certifications, like a cyber certification or something like that. You could definitely, if you those certifications will vouch for your degree. That's a pretty big deal in our area. Also, too, I just want to touch on internships real quick as well, because I know some of you may be looking at internships. We do have an internship program. It's going to probably start up around an early fall time frame, but just give you an idea of the things that we had last year. We had system administrator, desktop support, configuration management, event coordination, IT, and engineering intern. Those are just a few. The key thing you want to take away from that is the internships, they don't require a lot of things. Most of them require you just in the process of obtaining a degree. We have some that may require an engineering career path, but we do have some that don't. When you start seeing those come to the forefront, you want to make sure you jump on those, because we only have a limited amount of interns that we're going to give out. And one of the biggest benefits, and I'm summing up, I'm wrapping up right now. One of the biggest benefits in doing an internship with Jacobs, number one, they're paid. Number two, that you're going to get a security clearance out of it. And if you don't know, right now around this town, Colorado Springs, a security clearance is a pretty big deal around here. So by doing an internship with us, you'll get it for free.
So we've had a couple questions come through the chat, so I'm going to introduce those. So Sue asked, will you hire someone and then allow them some time to get the Security Plus clearance?
I'll go and take it. So we do have, you got to really look at the requisition. For some of our entry-level positions, we do have, you must obtain Sec Plus within X amount of days. So within 90 days, 120. The friction point is, without that Sec Plus, you can't work on our network. So we got to assume that, not really, we kind of assume that risk that you're going to get that cert, because if not, I mean, your services wouldn't be an asset to our organization. So we do have those opportunities, a lot of for our entry-level position, not a lot, but some for our entry-level positions. So that definitely is it is an option.
Excellent. And then another question is Jacobs hiring entry level / new grad positions for students with mechanical engineering degrees?
I can take that one. Yes, we do. So those are the ones that, because Jacobs doesn't do a lot of the traditional, not Jacobs, should we back up a little bit? Jacobs Irs, this contract doesn't have a lot of traditional electrical engineering, civil engineering type roles. This is where the mechanicals and the electricals who want to take a different path and go into design, go into events, go into different paths can really benefit from looking at Jacobs. The answer is yes. Most of them will go into mission engineers. So the ones that I talked about that are awesome, the ones where you get to travel. And then we have our traditional mechanical engineers will go into facilities, more of the traditional mechanical design work, where they're working on projects to improve the MDA. We're working on, because we do manage the facility, we do all of the design work on the inside, get it contracted, get it built out. So yes, we do hire mechies.
Any more questions?
Yeah, so a few more have come through. So for graduating seniors, is it a deal breaker if that student doesn't have a security clearance but does have industry experience?
Go ahead, Brandon.
So not necessarily. So a lot of our requisitions are written either have the clearance or able to obtain the clearance. So that's if you're a good fit, and this might not be, it might not be this way for a while, but as of right now, if you're a good fit for the team, then we are willing to look past that. But it all depends on the scope of what you're doing as well. So, and so to sum up your questions, no, that's not a deal breaker on your job that you're applying for.
So I would like to add to that, the key what you got to do as a candidate, look at the requisition. It's going to give you everything you need to know. If it says must have an active secret clearance, then that would be a no for your question. But if it adds must have an active secret clearance or ability to obtain your money, so we're willing to, if you're the right candidate, that clearance is not going to be a showstopper. So you just got to really read the requisition. Every requisition, different requirements. So that's the key piece. But we do have those options.
Yeah, we're working more with the government to find people with clearance or without clearances. So we understand that it's a limited pool with clearances. So we go to the government, we say, hey, will you allow us to bring in somebody without a clearance? The deal is they'll get an interim clearance first, be allowed access to base, because when you don't have a clearance on Schriever, somebody has to escort you everywhere you go. So somebody has to be with you literally from the time you step foot past the restricted area all the way until you leave. So if you go to the bathroom, somebody has to go to the bathroom with you. If you want to smoke, somebody has to go smoke with you. So you can see where that really presents an issue and a barrier to getting work done, because you can't open a computer either because you need clearance to actually get on a computer. So we have a deal with the government where we can find stuff for them to do. We'll wait for the interim clearance to come through, get you guys set, get you working, and then from there, it usually works out.
Any other questions for the Jacobs team?
Quick question regarding the 401ks. If you are coming from a company that already had a 401k, do you guys allow the accrual from that old company to the current to Jacobs company, or is it a fresh start and you have to start the 401k from fresh once you switch over to Jacobs?
You should just be able to roll over everything you've already contributed to your new one.
Cool.
It's your money. So they should let you just roll it over to wherever you're going.
That is correct. That is correct, Jose. You definitely can roll it over. You just do paperwork and you can roll that right over.
Another thing, guys, that I want to put out there real quick. no matter what you want to do, I bet you we have something for you. We're huge and we're everywhere. So don't, if you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to get a clearance, I don't want to work on an Air Force base, fine. But keep us in mind for other things, because Jacobs, for especially for engineers, is the #1 service provider for NASA. So we have NASA contracts all over the world, and of course, all over Florida. And Florida is not a bad place if you're looking. So if you're going to look at other career paths, and maybe Jacobs isn't, Irs isn't for you, keep us in mind. We have the commercial side, which is solutions based, and Travis touched on it earlier. We don't make anything, which to me, when I first started, like, what do we make? They're like, we don't make anything. We just sell knowledge. We sell solutions. So that tells me that we're doing something right. But keep us in mind, go to jacobs.com, just type in any keyword and see what pops up. You're going to see results from all over the world, and go for them.
Team, we just had another question come through, so I'll throw that out here. So Jared asks, do you have a lot of locations or projects working on designing or building solid propulsion systems?
Jared, you see my name at the top? Send me your question and I'll find out.
What was the question again?
Do you have a lot of locations?
Yeah. Go ahead, Jose.
Do you have a lot of location or projects working on designing, building solid propulsion systems?
Oh, okay, yeah. There's always that one question that's hard. That's a hard one.
It's a good one. Hold on a second. There was another one there. Approximately 20% of our students are military affiliated and have clearances or have clearances that could be renewed. Sue, I want to meet your students. Send them my way.
Like Jose said, definitely reach out to us. So I don't know how too familiar you are with clearances. So one of the friction point is after it's in a, like an inactive status for 2 years, then it basically goes expired. So you basically starting from square one with that FS86 and so forth. So, but if you're within that 2-year window and it's just in a kind of hibernation, oh man, you definitely want to get a job that will utilize that clearance so it doesn't end up going in that inactive, I guess, status. If that makes sense.
Madison just asked, what makes someone eligible to obtain a clearance?
I can touch on it real quick. So number one is need to know. You got to have a requirement. So if you work at Walmart, you're not going to get a clearance. There's no need to know. So number one is you have to have a need. So for instance, this contract to make you eligible is the need to know, and then to determine if you qualify, it's a holistic process. They look at everything from foreign influence, finances, relationships, past criminal friends, they do a whole investigation and and then it goes to adjudication. They confirm if you and just because you got a hiccup or a skeleton in the closet doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get disqualified. You got to just say you got a criminal mischief charge or something 5 years ago. I'm not saying you're going to be disqualified. If they're going to look at everything and hey, looks like everything's good. One hiccup, you're not showing a pattern of issues or high risk to the nation. That's what it boils down to. Are you a risk to the nation that someone's going to be able to influence you to give up information that you have? So, but the number one is you got to have a need. I mean, everyone wants a clearance, but if you don't have a need, you're not going to initiate the process. So I hope that answered the question.
Madison, that is a question that is very near and dear to me, because when I first started, they were like, we're going to do a background check, we're going to get a clearance. And I was like, okay, I've been in trouble. So is this going to be all right? And they looked at the whole person, which really helped me out because I hadn't been in trouble for a while, but I've done my share of stuff that I'm not proud of. But they look at you, like Travis said, holistically. Is it a pattern? What's the true risk? And they have an investigator that you talk to, and you and the investigator get together. They go through everything you put on there. And the biggest thing that is just be honest. If you tell them everything that you've done and they see that the honesty is there, they work with you, they get information. Doesn't mean it's going to work out, But lying will get you done, will get you kicked out right away. That's one thing they do not mess around with.
And that's a really good point because they pull FBI files, police records. They're going to find it. So just be upfront. I mean, they're going to find it because that's what their job is, to dig and overturn every rock and stone and see what they find on you. So you might as well be upfront to, I mean, once your integrity is in question, the likelihood of you getting granted a clearance is slim to none.
Well, there is one thing. Unfortunately, if you're a prior felon, then that your chances are likely it's not going to happen. But other than that, everything is pretty much up in the air.
Thank you, guys. Another question came through, so we'll keep going as long as you guys are still good with keep answering questions.
Hey, real quick. I'm good. I'm putting comp time in the bank as we speak, so we can keep going.
I love it. So Mark asks, are there any new hire jobs that would allow for the clearance process to be started before you graduate?
Internship would be the way to go, but I'll let Jose elaborate on that.
Yeah, that's going to be your best bet.
I tell you, our intern program is money. I mean, I would really look into that because, I mean, you get that clearance piece and we do pay you a little money, but that clearance piece, I mean, that's just going to open so many doors. Hopefully it's with Jacob, but if not, doors are just going to start flying open just because that is we're all fishing in the same pond. Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Harris, so, I mean, if I could redo it, I would have done that. So, I mean, I really highly look at that intern program and not just the experience, the pay, but the clearance piece is the game changer to me.
Thank you. Any other questions for the Jacobs team? And it looks like they've got the PowerPoint slide up with their contact info. So please don't hesitate to reach out to ask maybe some specific questions or to get the ball rolling. But anything else for the good of the world?
And write these two links down. I mean, like you said, Jacobs will take you, but if you want to look at our Irs page and find out more information, definitely go ahead and check that. And then I'll tell you last thing I would like to say is follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. You'll be amazed at the stuff that that Jacobs in the big picture be doing. I mean, it just every day I pop in, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know we did that. I learned something every day. I mean, we actually are making a difference, and I can put an exclamation point behind that and believe that. So, and you'll see it firsthand when you follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Well, more comp time for Travis. We got some more questions.
So keep them coming.
Who would be the best contact for more information on new grad engineering jobs?
I can take that one real quick, Travis. I'll give you a break, man. Earn some comp time on your break. Now, so any of us would be any of those contacts that you see on your screen, and y'all can help you out. But also too, our jobs are changing every single day. A good resources that is our Irs website. You go to that website and you can see what you may what you'll qualify for or what may interest you as well. And if you guys do decide to apply for something, make sure you qualify for it, of course. But let us know. Shoot us an email. Say, hey, we were on a call with you guys, whatever day it is, on the 29th of April, and I'm applying for this job. I qualify for it, so that way we could keep a lookout for you.
And Sue sent out the link to the Irs page and the webinar reminder for today. So for all of you students, you should have that link to in your email. Anything else for the Jacobs team?
I got one quick question. So I know some companies offer like pathway programs, like even NASA. Do you guys have like a rotational kind of position where somebody gets a sampling of all of Jacobs does, or is that cool?
Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're fine.
Yeah. So we have Jacobs proper, so big Jacobs, We separate it by Jacobs proper and then Irs. So Jacobs has a program that they call Jacobs Go. So that one right there is built to allow people to do rotations in contracts. So for instance, when I went to that Careers Network seminar thing we had, I was just there representing Iris, and I'm talking to this guy, and he's like, "Why don't you come work for me at the UK for 3 years, and then you can rotate back? Well, we just work out the Jacobs Go program." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So yes, we do have that, and it basically switches you out with somebody who is on another Jacobs contract in another country or another state, and you guys basically just do each other's job, and you learn about other things in the company. That's one. That's the big one, Jacobs Go. And then the contracts individually have their own programs. We have one that internally is designed to move somebody around and expose them to the contracts and procurement. So the guy who got it was formerly on QA and risk, and he wanted to check it out. He wanted to learn more about the contract and the procurement and the finance piece. So he got that one, and he spends 6 months in a different group for 2 years. So he's going to go to 4 different groups, spend 6 months there, and at the end, the opportunity is hopefully that he can get the job where he wants, or if he doesn't want it and there's another opportunity, he can go for that. What really stuck out to me about that program was that he kept his pay because he was pretty high up, senior level. And typically when you make a career change, you have to take a docket pay. If you're going to go do something as a entry level, typically you're looking at, you're going to lose some money on that one, and he didn't. So to me, that just proved how much Jacobs really invests in its people. So that answer your question, Caleb?
Oh, that definitely answers my question. Thank you. One more thing. Sorry, I said it was a quick question. I'm helping you guys with your comp time. Um, so with that constant moving of like every 2 years, do you guys offer like stipends? What do you guys cover with like travel costs and other kinds of expenses?
The Jacobs Go program?
The Jacobs Go or the sorry, it's fleeting me, but the that second program you also mentioned.
Oh, the second one is internal. So he's not actually going anywhere. He's just being exposed to different departments. So he doesn't have to leave the state. He's just in finance now, where he was in risk management. Now he's in a different group, and he's going in that same group in the finance department to different groups every 6 months. So he didn't have to travel anywhere. He's still here. He's just part of a different group. The Jacobs Go program, oh, I'd have to get more information on how they cover the living arrangements. I didn't get into it with him, but I know that, let's see, the transfer is for 2 or 3 years to a different country. They work out all of the legal stuff with Jacobs, but the stipend or the living arrangements, I don't know how that works. I'd have to get more info. If you want to follow up with me, I can definitely get it.
Sure.
And there's another thing too, Jose, and it just jogged my memory, being that we're talking about moving around and stuff. So Jacobs also encourages employees to move around with internally as well. So let's say, for instance, if you started off as a network engineer or whatever, just giving an example, but you kind of get familiar with the cyber program. You want to go on the cyber side of the house. You get to know the cyber folks. You get to know the cyber hiring manager, and you think, hey, this is something I want to do. And you get your certifications. You can definitely do that. So that's highly encouraged within the organization.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
And just to put some weight behind that, Brandon, when I was talking to our internal Jacobs acquisition, and they were kind of bummed that only 4% of our internal workforce is moving around. They want it somewhere like around 28%, because we don't want anybody to leave. If you're not enamored with what you're doing anymore, let's try something else. Don't leave, right? So we'd rather keep them and move them around, spread the knowledge, than lose them. So that to me stuck out because they were like, let's move people around instead of losing them because that's a bunch of crap. I agree.
It's all about getting your foot in the door. Once your foot in that door, you can maneuver around and do what you need to do.
Anything else for the Jacobs team? All right, so seeing none, I want to thank Brandon, Jose, and Travis for your time and energy, and I know they're open to connecting with you all individually if you have questions, and we will post this recording if you want to rewatch it and just go back to do research if, say, you get an interview or want to dive in further, and we'll go from there. Any final thoughts from the Jacobs team?
Go ahead, Jose.
Yes. Well, we definitely, this is Brandon Archer. We definitely appreciate you guys having us. Exciting time in your life right now, and I can think back when I was a college student and not knowing what's ahead of me, but you guys are doing the right thing. Look at all your options, explore everything. Don't be afraid to question. One important thing that you guys remember as well too to think of is networking is huge. So if I were you guys, I would be trying to connect with every recruiter on this LinkedIn post right now because we have all kind of contacts on there as well. And when you link to us, you kind of link into those contacts as well. There's going to be a lot of opportunity out there for you. Just keep your head up and keep pressing.
I didn't realize I was muted. I'm just talking away. We'll be the next one. Please come by, say hi. We'd love to meet you. Link up with us on LinkedIn. And if any questions, please feel free to reach out.
And last thing I want to say is share with your friends. Tell them that Jacobs is a learn the day, spread the word. We definitely want talent to help us solve these critical problems and solutions. And stay safe.
Thanks, team.
Bye.
Have a good one.
You too. Thank you, guys.